All right, how's this? This good, everyone? Thank you for having me back. Great to see all you guys again. I know I've been coming to a lot of these. It's kind of weird being back here as the main speaker. Last time I was here, or maybe the time before, someone told me I was the David Byrne sideshow. I'm going to have a knack for taking over, but hey, that one was fun, one way you fight in general. So for those of you who don't know, I'm David Byrne. I came here about 6 years ago to the Grovetown area, or Greater Augusta area, when I was also in the National Guard. I came here for my active duty training for my initial officer training. I was commissioned as a cyber operations officer in the U.S. Army on the National Guard side. I was enlisted for 2 years before that. So, Travis and I have that in common. Really, you know, to go back and tell you a little bit about where I'm from, right? I spent a lot of time doing cyber. I have worked in several states. My background is nanoengineering. That's by education. What I did it for several years before transitioning to cyber full-time because of the mobility it afforded me. During my time working as a nanoengineer, I worked down in Jacksonville, Florida for a short bit for the materials engineering laboratory there. I even did a short stint working for the intelligence community up in Washington, D.C. So I've been around the block, and the reason I want to say that is because I am the youngest in this race, and I found, CJ and I get put in a group together kind of as the young crowd, right? But one thing I would like to distinguish myself on that is I graduated high school when I was 15. I left my parents' house when I was 15, and I've been living on my own ever since. I graduated college with my bachelor's when I was 19. I'm only 26 now, but in the 8 or so years since I graduated my bachelor's, I have been doing quite a bit. For 3 years, I was the head of cyber threat hunting for U.S. Army Europe, up to and including the war in Ukraine, which I know we're all such great fans of. Let me tell you, well, basically I left the DoD eventually because I was tired of drug waste and abuse. So now I work for a hospital which wastes just as much money, but I feel less bad about it because it's not my taxpayer dollars at least. So, still a travesty. So that brings me to this race. It's not about me. I decided to run because we need people, we need solutions brought to the state of Georgia. It's really easy to come up here and pontificate about the issues and tell you guys what you want to hear. As I'm sure Jerry got the pleasure of dealing with me as I pushed on the topic of immigration. I hope I didn't offend him at any point in our conversation, but I care about the details because that's where the rubber meets the road. It's really easy to just talk about issues. It is really hard to come up with solutions that work across the board. One thing I know you guys all care about is immigration. It's not on the tear sheet. There's only so much real estate on there. So let's talk about immigration. First of all, it's mostly a federal issue. There's very little we can do about it at the state, but yet it gets brought up in all of our races. So here's what I've arrived at. The state of Georgia only requires that E-Verify be used for companies that have more than 10 employees. That's a problem because most roofing companies and small companies, they don't have 10 employees, and even then, who's really checking? E-Verify also has no visual ID requirement. We can't do anything about that part at the state level. So let's move on from that. So here's a solution we can do for immigration at the state level. I-9 verification forms are visual ID forms. You have to submit a visual ID to your employer. Every single employer is required by law in the state of Georgia to fill it out and verify visually your identity. We could easily pass a law in the state of Georgia that says, hey, we want every single copy of that to be given to the Georgia Department of Revenue or pick a Georgia agency, and we're going to compare your tax return and how many employee deductions you take against how many I-9s you submitted. And you're going to have to explain any difference. Right? There's actionable steps. My point in bringing this topic up is even on a federal issue like this, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that I can deport anyone. Under current judicial law, if I tell you that I will deport anyone, I'm lying. So I'm not going to say it. I went, did my homework, and I arrived at a conclusion that I knew would be legal and that I can bring it to the table. There are 56 different pages on my website that I put all these solutions on these topics on for the world to see. Some of them are federal. I actually met with Rick Allen, Congressman Rick Allen, to discuss my solutions to the couple of federal issues. So my point is, I'm really putting in the effort, and I'm coming to this race prepared with solutions that I'm actually going to bring to session. I've been to the Capitol. Jody had me there, along with Representative Newton, and I watched the lobbyists writing the law, because they're only there for 2 months. Our representatives if they don't come with the idea already in their head and they don't have it already written, they don't have time in 2 months to write a law. So you have to come prepared. And that's what I'm doing. I'm coming with the solutions already. I encourage, please, all of you, if you don't care about the issues on my trifold, please go on my website. I talked to you about my solution for immigration. If you don't care about that issue, find the one you care about. Read what I am trying to bring. If you have a better idea, please. I'm not an expert on anything. I consider myself an expert on cybersecurity. I'd say I'm pretty good at education. I've done a lot of I did a lot of the accelerated programs when I was younger. So I feel I can bring a lot to that table, but I'm not an expert on everything. So I'm really trying to bring solutions to this race because I'm tired of the talking points. Like I said, I know I'm younger, but I want to bring those forward. And I'm pleased, would love to ask for your vote in the May primary. Thank you.